Hello my friends, do you like the Xeno series, enjoy my content, and wish you could support me? Why don't you consider buying some merchandise? I promise you'll look amazing in it, it'll help me make more videos, and you'll look handsome as heck. In celebration of the Smash reveal, we also have a brand new design that I think looks cool as heck. If you're interested, be sure to check out the link in the description below. Let's get into the video. Have you ever been disappointed by the gacha system in Xenoblade 2? Wish you could just get a cool rare blade instead of a bunch of worthless commons? Think that none of these blades you're pulling will ever be useful to you in combat? Well, what if you were required to use these blades? Maybe you found the game a bit too easy and want to have a bit of a challenge on another playthrough. If you know anything about me, you'll know I love Xenoblade 2 and I'm always looking for ways to squeeze a bit more replay value out of the game, so this is what I decided I was going to do. Inspired by the Nuzlocke challenges from Pokemon games that only allow you to capture the first Pokemon you see in a route, and being forced to release them if you die, I decided to do a similar challenge in Xenoblade 2, and in this video I'm going to show you my journey through this challenge and how successful I ended up being. If you enjoy Xenoblade content, please consider subscribing to the channel as I make a ton of content for the series and would appreciate all the support. With that done, let's get into it. So first things first, I needed to come up with a rule set. This is a bit tricky since Xenoblade 2 has some restrictions that can make this difficult. For one, story blades are required on normal new game playthroughs to be equipped. Even if we did an honor system of not swapping on the player-controlled character, the AI characters would absolutely swap no matter what. Secondly, field skills could be a problem during the run if we didn't have the blades we needed to complete them. For this reason, the challenge is done on New Game Plus because that will allow us to declip story blades and keep blades solely for their field skills to use as needed during the run. The field skills you have to do this are Ancient Wisdom 3, Keen Eye 2, Wind 3, Earth 3, Fire 3, Super Strength 2, Focus 5, Electric 4, and Leaping 3. Make sure to not actually use blades that are kept solely for this purpose. Secondly, I released every blade I had outside of these with the exclusion of Telos, Corvin, and Crossset. I decided to ban them from the run because they are too strong, and if I managed to pull them it would make the challenge much easier. Not to mention Telos has an extremely high pull rate. I am also leveling Rex down to 1 at the start, and any other character got will be leveled down to whatever level Rex is currently at. Inexperience is banned during the run, obviously, because we'd have a huge stockpile of levels there otherwise. The final thing banned is the Shining Star Chip Chest and Temperantia for being way too broken of an item to get that wouldn't make the last half of the game very challenging. I sold all accessories I had so items would match up with only what I could currently obtain as to mimic an actual new game as close as I could. Obviously some driver skills and art levels would still be gained making it slightly better, but everything else is trying to make it as much of a challenge as possible. The rules I decided myself was that I'd be allowed to pull 1 blade per chapter per driver. Zeke and Morag would be allowed to pull 2 blades when you first get them to catch them up. Tora is allowed but only in fights you don't have Morag, and Poppy Alpha has to be severely neutered with the weakest possible core chip. The reason I did this instead of just not using Tora at all is because the first 3 chapters with only 2 drivers would be very difficult, and being able to jump to 3 drivers after getting Morag would just throw off the balance of the challenge, so Poppy Alpha is allowed. When I die I have to release a blade. If I did this again, I'd likely change this rule to be a blade in the active party instead of just any blade I pulled so far, since this ended up being pretty lenient for me later on. 1 single blade might sound generous in general, but I didn't really know what to expect from this challenge yet, and how hard or easy it would actually be, so that's what I stuck with. If I lose all my blades, that's game over just like a Nuzlocke in Pokemon. With the rule set decided, I jumped right into it. So the first blade I ended up pulling was already pretty blessed. It was a Lance on Rex, and at that it was a Fire Lance. Fire is one of the best blade combo routes you can have, and it's just like having an offensive Fire Blade at the beginning of the game that I'm already used to. This was an amazing first pull and was already going to make the game quite a bit easier despite the blade itself not being that great. I also pulled this Knuckle Claw on Yuna, a Dark Knuckle Claw that does give us a healer blade, but it's not a really good source of flat healing, so we're still going to be a bit struggling there. As you can see here, Yuri's skill tree isn't really that amazing, so we're just going to have to rely on just pure damage ratios and understanding of combat to really get by here. The front attack up is decent, but it's not going to be anything that spectacular. Luckily, the Chapter 1 fights are really easy, though. The Lethal Lysat here is pretty simple to beat. Malos is required in the party for these next 2 fights. The Megalo Aligo is really easy with the blades that we currently have on Rex and Nia, not really a big deal. And then the fight against Malos afterwards, just the one-on-one, that one was not too bad anyway, either, because normally you would have Pyra here, but since we've got another Fire offensive blade, we're still able to do the fight pretty similarly to how we would normally do it, and that's not really going to be a huge deal. Things are going to get much harder from here, though. Chapter 1 is the significantly easier chapter than everything else. I managed to pull a Bitball Blade on Rex, which isn't really that good, but after that, we get into a fight with the Worm-Eater Morag. We get reunited with Nia, and this fight's not going to be that bad either. I ended up getting the wing chip out of a treasure chest nearby, so that we can do plenty of damage to make sure he can't even get predation off, so that's not really going to be a big deal. And then we're going to be exploring around Gormott, because there are a lot of useful items, such as this treasure chest right here, which contains a scale chip, which is a pretty powerful core chip. And that is going to be able to help us through some of the rest of these battles, which are going to be much more difficult if we did not have them. Nia, I pull another blade on her. It ends up being an electric cannon. Cannon's a pretty good weapon on Nia, but we kind of need her to be on healing duty, so I don't really want to equip this right now, otherwise we might be kind of low on healers. I learned just how hard this is going to end up being because I don't have any kind of flat healing in the Padraig and Brigid fight. So because we don't really have flat healing, our only source of healing is just potions right now, which is going to be from our Bitball Blade on Rex and our Knuckle Claw on Nia. And this gets me into a lot of trouble. I thought I was going to die really early on here against Brigid. Fortunately for me, though, I'm able to just barely push through it with the healing and with the party meter able to revive me a few times in the fight. It does not count as a death if one person dies in a fight. You have to have a full party wipe. That is the other rule set I have here. Otherwise, it might be a bit too difficult. End up beating Brigid with 85 health left, and that's going to be a huge victory for me. I do the challenge, or the quest to get Poppy so we can go rescue Nia, who has just been kidnapped. And as I said, Poppy is going to be severely neutered. We're going to be equipping the weakest core chip possible on her, which is going to be the Tin chip. That is going to give me 20 auto attack on Poppy total, I believe. Yes, 20. So she's not going to be really doing much of anything. She's just going to be there as an extra driver so the balance isn't thrown off once we actually get another driver that can pull gotcha blades. And because of her low auto attack stat, we can't really rely on her to take aggro that much anyway. I also get my pouch items ready. That Narcispear Jelly is going to be coming in clutch to make sure we can use Arch as much as possible. I head back to Argentum now that we have Poppy so we can do this field skill check to get the Coil Chip out of this treasure chest that requires Knock-on Wisdom and Focus. And the Coil Chip is a very powerful core chip that I equip on Yuri right away. And from there, we're just going to be fighting the Ardanian Sergeant so we can rescue Nia. Not really a huge deal even without healing here, just because our damage is so high we can kill him before anything would become an issue. And we rescue Nia successfully. And from here, we're going to see just how much trouble not having a healer is. We're running low on health against Dougal. This is another really scary fight. And I'm worried I might not be able to win this successfully before actually killing him. I do get this Mega Explosion off, and he's almost dead. I think I'm going to be able to do it. Tora ends up dying. I've got aggro now. I've got 60 HP. I grab this health potion that's over here in the corner, thanks to Nia being a bit clutch with that at the very least. I get a bit of healing from her special usage, and then we get the kill there on Dougal, and I realize I cannot fight Morag without a bit of extra experience. And while I'm just trying to get some extra experience, I get killed by Territorial Rotbart, the most unfortunate way to possibly die and have to release a blade. So I'm a bit more careful walking around Gormott at this point in time. I fight the Moonlighting Elwyn, not necessarily for the experience, but just because it has some good items like an Affinity Max attack, Hms Core, which is going to be really useful for us to be doing a bit of extra damage. And from there, I end up grinding experience off another unique monster in the Titan Battleship, Remorseful Vaclav. And this guy's going to give us a decent amount of experience to get us up to Rex up to level 12, and I decide I'll fight Morag from this point. It ends up being much easier than I thought it was, because I end up getting a decent amount of break and topples that give me enough health potions to survive this fight pretty easily. A bit of lucky there. I try to get a fusion combo finish, but I can't get that last break, so I just end up ending with the Mega Explosion here. But I still have a bit of a problem. Even though this has gone well, I'm still lacking a flat healing blade on Nia. And then my prayers are answered, and I get a gift from heaven above. I pull an Earth Dog on Nia with the ring weapon. That gives me flat healing and an amazing element to combo with Fire Blades, because Earth and Fire Blades just combo so well together. From here, I start controlling Nia so I can have control of the flat healing art myself. I set up this fusion combo here on this unique monster called Sniping Brent to try to get a bit of extra experience off of him. And the Mega Eruption gives me a decent amount. I get up to level 14. It's not as much as I would have liked, but it is something. And then while fighting the add-on ends up being more of an issue than the unique monster because he's level 22 and the level difference makes him do extra damage, and I end up dying to that. So we say goodbye to Yuna now. The Knuckle I pulled on Nia in the first chapter. Don't really need her anymore. I decide level 14 is enough to fight Vandom at this point. And I get this beautiful fusion combo set up, double stack, the Volcano off on the topple, and then the Mega Explosion off on the topple, controlling Nia once again. And we just get a huge burst of damage on Vandom here and just destroy the rest of his health bar. I guess common blades can be pretty powerful after all. The next fight is a pretty standard one against the Rampaging Arden. Vandam forces himself in the party instead of Tora, so we replace him after that battle. Not that Vandam and Rock are really going to be doing much of anything anyway. And then we have a pretty easy time with Elder Arachno. Controlling Nia for the healing art's actually not that bad. I don't end up killing him in the first combo there, so I'm able to do a second combo and get the Mega Eruption bonus experience there. Thankfully, the Fusion combo bonus experience, that is. Once we get to Akos, we finally have the ability to chain attack, and this is going to allow us to get a lot of extra experience in a lot of fights. And that is going to be one of the primary ways we try to keep up on levels the rest of the run here, because we could easily fall behind otherwise without fighting a bunch of enemies or grinding. I'm trying to limit grinding as much as possible. That's just how I am. You can definitely grind if you want to for a challenge like this. I just don't like doing that kind of stuff. For the most part, I just try to hit the levels I need to be able to beat a fight. And you're going to see me underleveled the enemy for the most of the run in that case, but that's not really going to be a huge deal. Zeke, I'm able to get another really easy fusion combo kill on him, get the Topple Mega Eruption after the double stacked fusion there with the Volcano. And Violent Driver is pretty much the same story. We're having a pretty easy time right now, but the next fight coming up, Makos, that is one of the hardest fights in the game, definitely a fight I was worried about. Phase 1's not really that bad, but Phase 2, because we're not using Mithra, we have to do the entirety of Phase 2 without our super buffed blade, and that means we're going to have a lot of trouble with Akos having half of his HP left and Malos having basically his full HP that we have to just burn through. Phase 1 is already hard enough casually for most people, but just having to deal with that without Mithra dealing with the entirety of Phase 2 is going to be a huge, huge issue. And predictably, I'm able to beat Phase 1 and was not having that many issues, but Phase 2, I end up taking too much aggro right at the start before I can even get any party meter and end up dying. So before I do this again, what I end up doing is going and getting some party meter. I release the other Knuckle Claw we had that it's not really going to be useful. And the second attempt, once we had the party meter just for safety, have everything focused on Akos, and just really being careful with my healing art, with Nia being the controlled character, I'm able to take out Akos, and that leaves only Malos. And from there, it's just a war of attrition against Malos' huge health bar. And eventually, after like multiple minutes, it takes quite a bit, but we're able to finally kill Malos and get past Chapter 3. Chapter 4 is pretty uneventful overall, but we do get our first rare blade, who ends up being Dagas, who is the worst possible rare blade you can possibly get because he is super, super weak without his quest done to get his strong affinity chart, so this ends up being a worthless pick overall. If nothing else, it's at least funny, even if it's torturous for me. Chapter 4 starts off with the bandit fights, not really going to be a major issue there, that's going to be a pretty easy fight overall. From there, there's some more annoying fights coming up that we have to be very, very prepared for, such as Lila and Morag. Lila is particularly annoying because we're going to be really underleveled for her. Level 23 is very, very dangerous against Lila. I end up making my preparations, and I still control Nia as the healer blade just because I feel like that's going to be the best thing to do to make sure I can stay as safe as possible so I can heal at every possible opportunity when I need to. And we're able to get a good chain attack off on Lila, which is going to be very helpful for getting the experience we need, so we're not super underleveled for Morag. And once I get to Morag, I make sure I take out the soldiers first before actually fighting Morag herself. Morag can be very, very dangerous once she gets enraged, because she'll start doing a ton of damage to you, which can easily, easily kill you, and that's going to be one of the major issues in this fight to watch out for. Fortunately for me, I'm able to push through all of these trials and overcome. I was not able to get the chain attack off on Morag I would have liked, but I'm able to successfully get past her, and that's all that really matters in this fight. Once that's finished up, we start the quest to find Lila, and then it's going to be on to the Zeke Fight. Zeke is, on the other hand, much easier than Lila and Morag are. We get an easy chain attack overkill on him, and that's going to allow us to get to the old factory without much issue. And we'll probably reach there about level 28 or so. So we're going to be fighting Lila again after this, and since our level is much better compared to where she is the first time, and the fight doesn't really change that much the second time, the fight's actually going to be much easier this time around, and we're not going to have that much issue killing her at all. We're able to get an easy chain attack off on her, and then Chapter 4 looks like it's going pretty smoothly here. Rosa is going to be more of the same after this. She's not really that difficult. Her most dangerous attack is summoning the explosion missile, but you can easily kill that when she summons it, or if you use Still Self-Destruct with a Fire Blade combo, you don't ever have to worry about it going off. And I'm able to set up this nice fusion combo chain attack here so we can easily finish off the remainder of her health bar, and Rosa is going to go down pretty easily because of that. Rosa and Lila both give a decent amount of experience, so getting the overkills here is very important for making sure we stay on a pretty good experience curve overall. After Rosa comes the final fight in Chapter 4, which is Petroka and Mikhail. And this fight is not that bad. There is a couple dangerous things to watch out for, though. Stellar Explosion by Mikhail. In this fight, I actually tried to time my level 4 to block it, but I'm just a fraction of a second too late activating it, and I get completely wiped. And yeah, that was the end of that. It's really sad because I knew it was coming too, but fortunately, it's not really a big deal. I ended up releasing Dagas because he's really useless, so I able to fight the second time, not have that much issue with it, and end up defeating both of them because I was able to actually block Stellar Explosion successfully, which is pretty useful. I chain attacked Mikhail, got the joint combo finish on Petroka, not a big deal. And now we get access to Morag in Chapter 5. I end up pulling 2 Ether Cannons on her, which are her 2 worst elements possible. So that's going to really suck for her. She's not really going to be that useful. I do the final fight against Zeke, the last fight where we're required to use Tor overall. And then we're going to have Zeke in our party afterwards, and he ends up getting a hammer and a katana, so he can actually replace our tank very effectively here. 2 really good pulls on him, actually. I never really thought I'd be calling a hammer good, but an electric katana and a fire hammer, pretty good elements on him, so he's going to be our tank. I set him up for that pretty easily here. And then we start the final fights of Chapter 5, the gauntlet here. We do the power lines fight, not really a big deal. I go for the fusion kill on Jin here, because I think I have enough time to get the mega explosion with Nia. Unfortunately for me, she doesn't actually get it up as fast as I would have liked. She gets it off just when break is expiring, and it's really unfortunate because I just missed the fusion combo experience here. But overall, we're kind of sitting pretty overall. We've got some tank blades on Zeke, we got a good healing blade on Nia, we've got some good offensive blades on Rex here. Well, not really good, they're not really good at all, but for the circumstances, they're not that bad. They cooperate very well with each other despite being pretty weak common blades overall. Hms Core is the final fight of Chapter 5. This one's not going to be that much of an issue. You just got to be careful and make sure you play around Blast Hammer, and once you do that, you can easily get the chain attack off and kill him. Gigarosa is more of the same after that. I set up a 2-orb chain attack here so I can get a pretty good overkill against her, and that's not going to be a big deal at all. We get a decent amount of experience because Gigarosa has a lot, and then we have the biggest trial of all. So there is a treasure chest in Tantal here under this bridge that has a modern medal. That's a crit heal medal and something very valuable that I really wanted to get. After spending 15 minutes trying to get down here, look at what happens. Random ass treasure chest. You're all mine. No! What? No! I can't get down. No. Despite my pain, I press on, and the next fight is the trio fight. This one was actually pretty hard, but I still was able to play it pretty well and not have too many issues with it. There's just 3 enemies in this fight. I took out Mikhail first, Petroka second, and Akos third. And I was able to successfully pull through the fight without a ton of issues. I had to take out the weather changer as well, so the blade combos wouldn't get ended too fast. And the fight gets progressively easier as you go on. Once you get rid of Mikhail, the rest of them fall pretty quickly, but overall, it still can be a pretty difficult fight. Had a pretty good setup going into it, though, with the crit heal medal, the classic medal I had. I wish I would have gotten that modern medal, but unfortunately, I'm not that lucky. Jin afterwards is not that bad at all. You just got to get him to 80% of his health, which is pretty easy overall. He is pretty dangerous for the amount of time you have to fight him, but if you can just get him to 20% health pretty quickly, not that much of an issue. Blade pulls in Chapter 7 didn't really have anything noteworthy, but what was noteworthy was the 15-minute fight against the Phantasms. This fight is a big test of your patience, and you got to be very careful when doing it too, because if they can gang up on you, it can be pretty dangerous. But fortunately for me, I didn't really have that many issues with it. They're not that dangerous overall as long as you got a consistent healing method like with Nia, and I was still doing some consistent damage trying to get those fusion combos breaks for extra experience. And overall, I was able to push through, and then the real fun begins. As it turns out, a level 52 Malos when you are level 44 is a very difficult fight. I tried controlling Zeke for this fight so I'd have access to the katana and the evasion art on him, but it still ended up being really difficult. My attempts controlling Rex were not working at all, so I ended up moving to Zeke. I tried to get another level up to 45 to make things a bit easier so he do 20 less damage to me. I kill these Pepitos until I can accomplish that. And then I try again, and it seems to be working a lot better for me, but I'm still having a bit of trouble. If I mistime my evasion art or don't save my level 4 for something important, I can easily get wiped if he ends up killing Zeke and targets my other characters. I can lose my entire party meter. The affinity down moves he has are annoying, and Monado Jail is annoying. He's just a really difficult fight overall at this point in the game. Fortunately though, after changing up my equipment and a couple more attempts, I'm able to play it well and finally beat him. I'm lucky I have a lot of like fodder blades to release at this point just because of the fact that I've had pretty good success so far. But this is also a reason I might eventually change the rule set in the future if I try to do this again to like actually releasing something on the active team. So there's a bit more consequences to losing a fight in this, because having all these cannon fodder gave me plenty of attempts to like reattempt this with the blades I currently had. And that's what allowed me to eventually beat him without having that much issue. Thanks to all the experience I got from that chain attack overkill too, I'm able to actually not have as many issues in this next part against Malos and Jin at the same time. I just got to get Malos to half HP at this point, which isn't too bad overall. I do an early chain attack to try to accomplish this, and I'm able to do that. And luckily, phase 2, you are required and forced to use Numa. There's no way around it, so I end up using Numa here. And that also allows me to get a little bit of extra experience. This is the only exception to the gotcha or the Nuzlocke rules, just because the game requires you to use Numa there, and there's nothing you can do about it. Chapter 8, I end up finally getting another rare blade. I also picked Pyro for the first time ever because some mad lad donated $200 to me. What a legend. So my rare blade I ended up pulling was Agate. We do the multi-Guldo fight without any issues. This is, Agate's actually kind of a useful rare blade to have. She ended up being pulled on Rex, and she's going to end up being pretty useful in some chain attacks because she has some pretty good specials, like her level 2 having the crit damage. My first attempt against Guldo goes badly because I couldn't really rearrange my party at all because they come in the middle of the fight when you normally have Jin. Once I'm able to actually like rearrange things and do stuff, I'm able to win the second time around. It's just really unfortunate I had to just basically eat a loss there because I couldn't really change anything about my party going into the fight. But not really a huge deal. We end up getting an overkill against the Guldo. 3-orb chain attack, not too bad. Agate, you're going to see just her huge amount of damage here. Over 200,000 on one of those hits there, which is really impressive. Granted, the Guldo was weak to Earth at that moment in time. Final fight of Chapter 8 against the Indling Star, and then like the Indling like minions is not really that hard at all. Really easy fight to do. But then things start to get difficult again. The 3 major fights left are Jin, Amalthus, and Ion. In order to prepare for this, I end up getting an Omega Drive from this treasure chest, which is going to increase the party meter gain upon crits. And I end up getting a Avant-Garde medal from the Haywire Radcliffe. He drops it upon getting defeated, so I can end up getting some better self-healing. Jin ends up being just as difficult as you might expect. His evasion is a huge problem, his ability to cut healing is a huge problem, and I try to, I get myself a night vision so I'm able to actually hit him more on my main driver here. But the problem with that is afterwards, once he enrages in the fight, he also becomes an issue because he gets in a really big evasion spike, and that just kills you so fast when you miss attacks, both your allies and yourself. So what I have to do here is rush 3 quick orbs and chain attack him before he actually enrages here, and that's what I end up doing, and it ends up being just enough to kill him here, thankfully. And yes, I do release blades, so every time I do this, I'm not showing it, so the video is not like forever long. I am releasing blades when I die, I promise. Amalthus ends up being another issue, because once he enrages, he's able to one-shot both Rex and Nia with 1,000 tentacles, even if they were full on HP before. My way around this was changing up their accessories so that they have more than like 5,000 health along with Zeke, so they can't get one-shot by that move, so Nia's able to heal everyone back up. Other than that, it's not really that bad of a fight. It's just controlling the evasion with Zeke, making sure you keep aggro and avoiding all his dangerous attacks, and that's not too bad at all, thankfully. 1,000 Tentacles was the one really dangerous move there. Unfortunately, my chain attack doesn't end up killing there, so he ends up getting to heal himself with his ability, and I have to do another chain attack to get him back low on health, and we're able to defeat Amalthus. Upon getting to Chapter 10, we have the 3 ghost fights. These fights are pretty much a joke, not really hard to do at all. All 3 of them are pretty much when you have a heal medal and a blade like I've got, there's really no issue at all. You can just kind of push through them without any kind of trouble. So the last fight is Ion. We just have to be able to beat Ion, and we will have beaten this challenge. So Ion is a very difficult enemy for this. I spent the most time on him out of any enemy in this run, just because he has so much health, and you have to do both phases of the fight every time you attempt it because of it saving before the fight begins. And his really dangerous thing he can do is summon Artifice Colossus with summon reinforcements. I don't have the Dark Blades to set up seal reinforcements for this fight, so I have to be able to kill these Artifices if I want to be able to do anything, because they are just ending my run, and level 61 is just not going to be high enough to do this. So I end up grinding off the Artifice Colossuses in the hangar before Ion, and getting to level 63, because I think this is going to be the best chance of success. And what ends up happening is I get to phase 2, and I'm actually able to defeat the Artifices Colossus this time, because Ion's not attacking for a while. I use a chain attack to kill the last one, because he summons 2 of them at a time. And it looks like things are going to go pretty well for me now. It looks like I'm actually going to be able to beat him. These fights take a really long time, but unfortunately I don't have any party meter and use a Siren Buster. And Siren Buster is a one-shot attack. Normally I need to evade it or use an invincibility frame move. I don't have a level 4 charged up, I don't have a chain attack, so I just wipes my entire party with that. So I have to be very careful about that the second time around and not use my chain attack and Artifice Colossus. The Colossus is very powerful too. You can see just one-shot Nia there, but I've got the Gaia Crash set up. I'm ready to use Lightning Quake with my Katana Blade on Zeke. Able to get the fusion combo, thankfully, and this is the last Colossus. I was able to take the first one out really quickly, thankfully, from saving my specials. And I'm able to take this one out. Not too bad here. He's almost dead after this. Ion is talking in the background, and he's using Siren Buster literally right now. Like a moment later, killing this thing, and I would have been dead. I end up having a chain attack early just to block the attack so it doesn't end up killing me. And his other one-shot move, Prometheus, I have to use a level 4 towards the end of the fight to make sure I can kill him. The chain attack did not have nearly enough damage to kill him, by the way. I've had to use like multiple chain attacks to kill him this time. And after dodging Prometheus, I am finally able to kill him. I can use one more blade combo, I can use a chain attack, and he's gonna finally die here. This was a very difficult fight. I had to make sure I was evading pretty much everything possible. Nia had to be on top of healing, and just everything had to go really well to make sure I could win this fight. And this was actually quite the challenge. I think my releasing blades rule might have been a bit lenient overall, but just for the first time, I think it was just necessary because I did die quite a few times. And honestly, I actually had decent luck with the early blades. I used pretty much the Fire Lance Yuri and the blade at the Healer Blade on Nia pretty much the entire run just because they were super useful blades to have. The Katana on Zeke was really useful to get that early. And just overall, I tried to take advantage of all the blade combo routes I had to just set up blade combos on these final bosses, and it was definitely really difficult. This game's definitely balanced around Numa towards the end game, but overall, I was able to do it, and yeah, it was a really fun and interesting challenge. And you'll be able to hear my really awesome reaction to it in just a second when I am just really tired of everything happening. If you feel like you're good at this game, I'd definitely recommend giving this challenge a try and see how you can do. Holy crap. What the heck, dude? What the heck, man? It really was a good time, though, and just more proof you can beat this game without having any special blades or any special rare blades or anything like that. I beat the game with pretty much the worst common blades possible. They were all like pretty much 1 and 2 crown blades. I don't even think Nia's had an Hms Core slot. And I was also underleveled the entire time because I didn't want to really grind much. So there's definitely a lot of things you can do to improve something like this to make the experience better and just have plenty of success with any blade you want to do. I think overall it took me about 13 hours to beat it like this, but I did skip the majority of cutscenes except for the most hype ones. But yeah, if you want to try this challenge, I encourage you to do it and let me know how it goes. I'm not really sure I have much else to say, so if you made it this far, I want to thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and maybe learned something about Xenoblade 2 in the process. If you enjoy my content, please look forward to all of my future Xenoblade content, all the guides, everything, all the general fun videos I like to make, and I will appreciate that as well. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And as always, thank you all so much for watching because I do appreciate it so much. And as always, have a blessed day.